Well, good morning. Trucker Todd here. By the time you're seeing this video, I should probably say good afternoon. It's Tuesday. We're getting ready for the live show tonight, but there was some breaking news that was really kind of disturbing. I thought I should share it with you. Before I do, I want to show everybody my hat. Got this hat from the Thermo King dealer there in Lubbock. It's the flag on the back and then the Thermo King deal on the front. Something's on my hat. Anyway, that's not why we're here. You guys know that my very first live I had a law enforcement officer on, and I always talk about safety. I always talk about being supportive of law enforcement, things like that. But they're human and they make mistakes, and I'm about to tell you a story, read you an article, and even show you some police footage. And everybody made a mistake in this video, including the truck driver, including the police officers. And I'm not trying to get down on police officers or truck drivers, either one, but I think this is a very good story that we need to share, we need to talk about, and I hope you'll join me for that. It's just a tragic situation all the way around. But before we get into that story that resulted in a truck driver getting bitten by a police dog while he was trying to surrender, give me a thumbs up, share this video on your social media platforms, and make sure you're subscribed so that when I do more of these news and opinion pieces, you'll receive notifications for that. All of that's free to do, and I really appreciate it. Also, check out the Trucker Todd website at truckertodd.net. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and cue up the music, and then we'll jump right in. Here we go.
And this is why I do this, why I'm out here, why I keep that hammer down, flying by these road signs with home on my mind, with these wheels turning round, for my family and for my kids, for this life I wanna live. And this is why I do this.
Okay, folks, we're back. So here is a story coming from thetrucker.com. Circleville, Ohio police were attempting to stop a Western Express truck driver that had a mud flap missing from his trailer and had possibly ran a scale. Now, it resulted in a chase. They had to put out the spike strips to stop him. And then upon being stopped, he got out of the truck, raised his hands, even got on his knees, tried to surrender, and the police released the dog on him, even when other police were asking him, do not release the dog while he's got his hands in the air. So I'm going to read you the article, and then I'm going to show you the police body cam footage, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on the deal. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody, I'm not a law enforcement official. I'm not an attorney. I'm just a truck driver giving my opinion as a common lay person. I'm hoping that we can have a civil discussion about this, both in the comments and then tonight on the Tuesday night show at 5 p.m. Central, referred to as Tuesday Trucker Talk. But anyway, I'm going to read you this news article from thetrucker.com. Check out that website, and you can also read this story if you would like. It's titled, Ohio Cops Release Attack Dog on Trucker After He Surrenders Following a Pursuit. Article came out July 24th, and this evidently happened around the 4th of July. Says here that the Circleville, Ohio police unleashed a canine on a truck driver who had exited his rig with his hands raised after a traffic stop earlier this month, according to officials. The incident unfolded on July 4th after law enforcement officers engaged in a lengthy pursuit of a tractor trailer driven by 23-year-old Jadarius Rose. The vehicle was missing a mud flap and it had failed to stop for an inspection, a report from the Ohio State Highway Patrol said. It came to a halt on a state highway about 40 miles south of Columbus after authorities deployed tire deflation devices known as stop sticks for a second time. In a video provided by the Highway Patrol, Rose is seen standing in front of the vehicle with his hands raised as law enforcement officials order him to get on the ground. Moments later, an officer with the Circleville Police Department unleashed a police dog on Rose, even though a state trooper told the officer not to release the dog. Do not release the dog with his hands up, the trooper can be heard shouting in the video. Yeah, it's very noticeable. It's very obvious what the officer's telling him. The video shows the dog running towards Rose, now on his knees, and the video appears to show the K9 biting and pulling the driver. Rose screams loudly and can be heard saying, "Please get it off." Yeah, it's you can hear him wailing in pain. It's a really uncomfortable video to watch. Also want to remind you that some of you may find this video disturbing. If you do, you may not want to watch, or you may want to skip ahead past the police body cam footage when we show it. As troopers were attempting to gain compliance by providing verbal commands to the suspect, Circleville Police Department deployed their K9, which resulted in suspect being bitten by the K9. The Highway Patrol said in a statement. Circleville Police did not immediately respond for comment. Yeah, I bet not. Circleville Public Safety Director Douglas DeBorg told local media the city is currently reviewing the incident involving the police K9 unit. Well, it would take less than 5 minutes to review this video. It's about a 2-minute video, and I think you're going to have some pretty strong opinions one way or the other once you see this video. The Highway Patrol said the driver was immediately provided first aid and emergency medical personnel were contacted to assist. Rose was subsequently taken into custody, the Ohio State Highway Patrol said, adding the case remains under investigation. Now, before I start commenting, and I think some of you know where I'm about to go with this, I'm going to show you that body cam footage right now. Here we go.
Hey, that's a dog! Come to me! You don't want bit! On the ground, you're gonna get bit. Come to me, man!
Do not let them, don't release the dog. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Don't. Do not. Get the dog off of him. Get the dog off of him.
Get the dog! Out the dog! What's the cat? What's the cat? Get the cat!
Get the dog off.
Get your dog! Get it out!
I got squawk. Yeah.
Don't get a call now. I'll be a squawk for the suspect. Our units are clearing the vehicle now.
Put your hand back. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Get the first aid.
Yeah, start BMS.
What? Yes, clear that. You got a first aid kit going up there now?
Yep, he's bringing.
Okay, we're back, and So let me put this phone down. Let's talk about this a second. So a lot of things went wrong here, and I think we need to put things into perspective, and I think that we need to remember a few things. First of all, we've been told that we as truck drivers are held to a higher standard. And so if we're in an accident, if we're violating any traffic laws, our tickets are higher, our punishments are more severe, things like that. So when a police officer does something that's a violation of their duties, I believe with them being professionals, and by the logic we've been told about truck drivers, that they should be held to a higher standard as well. Now, let's talk about this situation. Mistakes were made on both sides. There's never ever a time that a truck driver should be running from the police, especially in a Western Express truck that does what, 65? Did he really think he was going to get away? Having said that, it was for a mudflap, and I do believe the police overreacted here. And if he ran the scale, then yeah, that's a little more severe. I get that. He did run from the police. They did have to deploy the stop sticks, the tire spikes, whatever you want to call them. But once they did stop him, he did get out of the truck. He did surrender. It's my understanding of the law and of police procedure that once a guy surrenders, their obligation is to take him into custody. He was clearly being submissive. He was clearly trying to surrender, and he should have been allowed to do that. I believe the Ohio State Highway Patrol agrees with me, because in this video you can clearly hear them yelling, "Do not release the dog while his hands are in the air." So there was, and I mean they yelled it multiple times. You can hear it in the video. Go back, listen to it again. There was no reason to deploy that dog. You can hear the guy yelling in pain, and it seemed like a significant amount of time for them to get the dog off of him. He was clearly in a submissive state. He was clearly wanting to surrender. He was of no threat to the officers at that point, and they should have taken him into custody. Now, there's some other things that need to be said here. The guy's 23 years old, and I don't know what it is about that generation that doesn't understand how a traffic stop works. When I was in driver's ed and when I was in school, we were taught when the officer pulls you over, you put your hands at 10 or 2, you roll down your window at 10 and 2, you roll down your window, you answer their questions, you provide them your license, you provide them your insurance, provide them your registration, you comply with what they want. They either write you a ticket or they write you a warning, and you go on your way. Now we've got all these clowns that refuse to comply with police. They refuse to do what they're told to do. They try to run, and then when there's an overreaction by the police, they panic. And here's the deal, and protest and everything else. This guy, I'm sure adrenaline was high. It was a local cop, the way this article reads, that released the dog. It's probably the most action he had seen in a while. I'm sure his adrenaline was pumping. But again, he's a professional, held to a higher standard. What would we do if I had a dog and I released it on you? They would prosecute me and they would put the dog down. Now, I don't believe the dog should be put down. It was doing what it was trained to do. But I do believe the officer should be punished more severely than what we would punish a regular citizen if they release their dog on somebody. And so this is a really bad deal, and all over a mudflap missing, and maybe ran a scale. I'm here to tell you that almost all of us at some point in time have accidentally passed a scale that was open. Best you can do is pull over, walk over, say, "Hey, I accidentally passed the scale." A lot of times they'll just say, "Oh, go ahead and go," because they figure if you'll stop and talk to them, you ain't got nothing to hide. Sometimes they'll say, "All right, we're going to send somebody out. They'll come out, run your license, all that." Then they'll let you go. But if you blow by it, it's usually a pretty expensive ticket. What I'm thinking is at 23 years old, he probably didn't have a lot of experience, and he probably panicked. Running definitely wasn't a good option, but when he realized the gig was over, he did try to surrender, and I think it's unfortunate that the dog was released on him. I think those of you that are training need to be teaching these drivers what to do if they accidentally pass a scale, what to do if police are behind them, how to do a good pre-trip and post-trip. Why didn't he know his mud flap was missing? Do they ever come off while you're going down the road? Rarely, but it does happen. And the guy obviously knew something was wrong or had something in the truck, or he wouldn't have ran to begin with, probably. But I don't want to get here and speculate. I think this is a terrible situation, and I think an example needs to be made out of the officer that released the dog on this guy. Now, what do I think is going to come out of this? Well, I think the truck driver probably lost his job at Western Express. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I think there's probably going to be some charges filed on the truck driver, and I think this officer's in a lot of trouble. But I'll bet you there's a bunch of lawyers and ambulance chasers that are circling this whole situation like vultures. And I predict there's going to be some lawsuits out of this. And rightfully so in this case. This is something that should have never happened. And it's wrong. Already in the comments, people are saying racism and all of that. And I don't know that I feel that strongly about it. I don't know that it was racism. I think it was just adrenaline pumping. But it was definitely wrong. Of course, this is all coming during the same time that that Jason Aldean's song comes out, Try That in a Small Town, which is a great song, by the way. If you've never heard it, it doesn't advocate lynching. It doesn't advocate violence or anything like that. It just says all of this, basically what it's saying, that's really got a certain segment of the population upset, mainly liberal Democrats, white liberal Democrats, I would say, is that these things are happening in big liberal cities. This wouldn't happen in small town USA. All these protests, all these fights with the cops, things like that. And that's another speech for another day. I don't want to get political on here. I just I saw this morning while I was eating breakfast, and I wanted to share it with you. Y'all join me in a couple hours at 5 p.m. Central Time. Might be a few minutes late, but we'll do a live show tonight. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.